Welcome. Be Holy, Be Perfect community. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We bless the Lord and we just give God the praise. We give him the praise because this is the day that he has made, and let us rejoice in him. Let us rejoice in him. We continue with Be Holy, Be Perfect, 80 days encounter with the blood of the Lamb that speaks. And today we're speaking on blood as a witness against violence and sin. Blood as a witness against violence and sin. Now, sin, the Lord speaks, I think it's in chapter 9 or maybe chapter 6 of Genesis, chapter 6. That sin produces violence, and the land will spew that out of its mouth. The earth will just spew it out when it gets to the point where it just cannot take any more of humanity's sin. Isn't that something? Yeah. Because of the violence that is created by sin, and sin as an act of violence, because sin, when sin is conceived, it brings forth death. So sin becomes an agent to create death, sickness, disease, and death. It becomes an agent to do that. Now, when we say, "Well, is I'm sick because I'm sinning?" That's a question. Ask God. And he tell us in Deuteronomy chapter 26, 7, and 8 what happens when we are disobedient. And it applies to all humanity. Let's see. Now, the Lord tell us the blood as a witness against violence and sin. Yes, it is. The blood cry of innocent blood, when there is blood being shed and it's innocent, the Lord will respond to it when he will respond. Innocent blood cries before the Lord. Innocent blood, not guilty blood, innocent blood cries out before the Lord. Sin produces spiritual testimony, and that spiritual testimony, evidence and proof of the person that sinned. It is an evidence. We're talking, when we speak about the covenant, we have to look at the judicial part of the covenant, because it is a legal document. Hidden violence cannot remain concealed. I don't care what type of sin it is, it produces a form of violence. It may be so tiny that people can't see it, but there is a violence going on in the spiritual world around us. So it can't be concealed. Bloodshed releases testimony before heaven and exposes sin that humanity attempts to conceal. So when we sin, the blood of the Lamb, because it was poured out on our behalf, is going to expose that in heaven. Isn't that something? Exposure. Genesis 9 and 5. And surely for your blood, for life blood, I will require an accounting. For every beast I will require it. And from every man who spill another's life blood, I will require a reckoning. Now. We're not going to go there. He said, for any blood that is shed, he requires a reckoning. Genesis 9 and 6. Genesis 9 and 6. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God he made man. For in the image of God he made man. So when we destroy each other, we're destroying the image of God. We're trying to destroy the image of God in another human being. And God holds us accountable to that. When we are belligerent, abusive with our words, abusive with our actions, that is violence and sin. And the blood exposes that, and the blood go before God and says, look, here is what is going on. This is what is happening. There is violence against this child. There is violence against these parents. There is violence against the neighbor, and the blood is exposing all of that. It is not concealed. It is not concealed. When you are backbiting someone, it is a sin. It is producing a form of violence, and it cannot be concealed in heaven or on earth. Numbers 35 and 33. So you shall not pollute the land in which you live. You shall not pollute the land in which you live. Polluted with what? Polluted with sin and violence. For blood pollutes the land, and no atonement can be made for the land for the blood shed in it, but the blood of him who shed it. Now, you have to read that entire chapter in order to get an understanding of what the Lord is speaking of here. But let's look at this. He said, you shall not pollute the land in which you live. Okay, so we shouldn't be polluting the land. And I'm not a Greenpeace or anything like that. But I'm a biblical principle person. And the Lord said, don't pollute the land. So we shouldn't pollute the land. We shouldn't pollute it with chemicals and all these things. And we surely, because the Lord command us not to pollute it with blood and violence. For blood pollutes the land. Now, when he say blood pollutes the land, that means innocent blood, blood that is shed, innocent blood, murder, all these things. Even when a person is injured to the point they take their own life, okay, it pollutes the land. And no atonement can be made for the land, for the blood shed in it. There's only one way. And he said, and that is by the blood of him who shed it. And I'm going to leave that alone, because we must all go before the Lord and look at this, what he is saying in Numbers. We can't cut out sections of the scriptures. Okay, the only thing that we can really cut out, and we really can't cut that out, we have to keep it all intact. But the things that do not apply, in which when we look in the spiritual aspect of it, and that is the sacrifices, okay? But when we look at the sacrifices, the Lord instituted another sacrifice, and that is us. He say we have to submit our bodies as a living sacrifice. So we need to understand the rules of engagement for the sacrifices that was taking place, where he explained in Exodus and Leviticus, so that we know what we're supposed to be as a living sacrifice. And that is all I'm going to say about that for now. Proverbs 6 and 16. These 6 things the Lord hates. Oh, yes, the Lord hates some things. You know, this misconception or misrepresentation of the Lord, or the twistedness and trying to adulterate the scriptures, where this counterfeit grace comes in, is that the Lord loves everything and everybody. Okay, well, that is fit to be proven with evidence of the word, that is a twisted, adulterated form of God's love and his grace, and not looking at what God say in his word. Proverbs 6 and 16. These 6 things the Lord hates. Indeed, 7 are an abomination to him. Proverbs 6 and 17. A proud look, the spirit that makes one overestimate himself and underestimate others. Woe, arrogance, pride, haughtiness. The Lord hates all that. Okay? So when you have these rude, and we think that we're above everybody because we have certain titles and this and that and certain degrees and all that, Lord say, okay, that proud look got you in trouble. because you're overestimating yourself and underestimating others because of some of your life experiences where maybe a person couldn't afford to get a certain degree, or maybe a person couldn't afford to be highly educated like you are, but you look down on them. And maybe a person, they know God, and they don't have these huge titles on the wall and stuff, but the Lord said that proud look got you in trouble. He said a lying tongue, oh, watch out, a lying tongue, a deceiving tongue, a manipulative tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. These things the Lord hates, even an abomination to him. Even an abomination to him. And so when we're out there thinking and we're lying about someone, guess what? The Lord hates that. And if you continue in that, look at what the scriptures say. See, we try to separate our action from who we are. That's not possible. It's just not possible.